Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to review Saito project. So this is a top-down view of Saito. Now there are things to be concerned about, such as governance is not very clearly defined, like some experience concerns, and even token distribution concerns. Those are some of the concerns, but there are things that are good, such as not a lot of people are aware of them. It's a smaller market cap. They're open-minded with the interoperability, like that they're going for the interoperability play, etc. So, and they have very unique technology. So this is a unique project all around. And ultimately, I think that it could have substantial price performance in the future. So to dive into it. So what is Saito? This is going to be a complex project. This is part 1 of 2. But basically, what problem does Saito solve? Okay. Saito addresses the blockchain size problem. And I'm going to get more into details of how they accomplish some of these problems in part 2. And this is the stuff I'll go over in part 2. But in part 1, I'm going to try to be broad with this and be more general and just address the general problems that it solves and it give you a general idea of its solutions and some of the general outlooks as far as, some of the issues that this project could have. So anyways, what problem does this solve? The blockchain problem is what problem that this project solves is this is a long time problem that's not addressed, okay? And this is a major problem, is blockchain size, right? Because blockchains are growing exponentially, and this is not sustainable in the long run. And basically, some of the arguments that this project make are that not all the resources are accounted for in current blockchain systems. Blockchain data storage, the blockchain is an entity, you got these blocks, right? And you get all of them together in a really long chain. That's the whole entire blockchain, and it's some amount of data, right? The whole blockchain is some amount of data, with new data being added all the time. And that's what the blockchain is it's constantly growing. And what this project makes an argument for is that that cost is not being accurately put into the system. And so it's like a tragedy of the commons. It is a resource. The blockchain itself is a resource that is being freely used, freely capitalized off of. And the blockchain, the blocks, right? They are nothing more than the history of the blockchain, which means that if you have transactions or apps or applications working, they're going to want to look at blockchain history and consult with it to know what happened in the past. And that is a resource, that is history. Basically, the blockchain is history, and it's also account balances. And so that data is not accounted for in current blockchain structures. That is one of the arguments that Saito is making, and I actually agree with that assessment. There's something called full nodes, partial nodes, and we're going to get more in the depth in video 2 of that stuff. I'm going to try to keep this video more broad. But basically, every individual has incentives to consume a resource, but at the expense of every other individual. That is what current blockchains are, and that's why you're getting bloated blockchains. Block producers get paid today to add data to the blockchain that will be paid for in the future. And remember, guys, blockchain, if you don't address this issue, blockchains cannot be scalable. And I'll go into why sharding doesn't solve the problem in the the next video. The fees do not reflect actual costs of adding data to the network, and elimination of TOTC requires nodes to bear the cost of transactions existing on the blockchain as long as they remain on the blockchain. The tragedy of the commons, TOTC. Elimination of the tragedy of the commons requires nodes to bear costs of transactions that exist on the blockchain as long as they remain on the blockchain. So basically accounting for the space on the blockchain as a cost, creating a cost associated with that. That is what this project will do. Everyone must pay for the transaction space that exists on the blockchain, and that's what Saito is doing. So it kind of makes the blockchain have data rent, and once again, we'll go more into detail on that. Saito also tries to eliminate the free rider problem. They try to address blockchain size, tragedy of the commons, and the free rider problem. So the burden on the shared resource is created by overuse by people who are not paying their fair share. So needs of the blockchain: consensus, software development, audits, user interfaces, and routing user transactions. Blockchains only pay for staking and mining instead of for all the necessary activities. Now, I would make the argument that, all of these things on a governed blockchain, a blockchain where the token represents ownership via governance, helps address some of these concerns. And maybe even, I would even make the argument that governed blockchains will address the blockchain size in the future. But they should make it to where it's a running cost rather than a cost that has to be managed by governance. And so, that's one of the differences between this project and another project. And this project should work on governance anyways, because its structure will need that. Blockchains only pay for staking or mining instead of for all the necessary activity. Right. So participants maximize spending on a paid work and minimize everything else. So volunteers currently for Ethereum and Bitcoin, to run a full node is basically a volunteer problem. And another major problem for Ethereum, and many people don't realize this, Ethereum is centralized, and people think that it's not. 80% of Ethereum's apps could effectively be shut off by Infura, which is a node software situation. So basically, they built the libraries, which is amount of work. They developed the easy APIs, and they made the code base easy, and they handle all this back-end stuff that a developer would normally have to do. And a bunch of Ethereum applications interact with this API. So this is Ethereum right here. The Ethereum, and it interacts with Infura, which is a centralized service controlled by AWS. So 80% of ETH transactions go through Infura. AWS could shut down 80% of Ethereum apps, causing absolute devastation. It could destroy the Ethereum ecosystem. So I will, once again, in part 2, I'll go over this stuff in depth, but right now I'm just going to leave it at that we understand that Ethereum is centralized, and Joe Lubin's company, Infura, controls 80% of Ethereum. Okay, so Saito's solution. How does Saito solve these traditional blockchain problems? The blockchain size, tragedy of the commons, free riders, and even Ethereum's Infura problem. They fix the current incentive structure to cover all the network costs needed to create a cost associated with memory on the blockchain. So they eliminate mining and staking and shift to a new form of work that pays nodes in proportion to the value they provide to the network. And, work is transaction fees that users spend. So fees that users pay reflect value they are currently getting from nodes. So value is getting transactions into the blockchain and confirmed, okay? And so all the data services provided in software development are done as a result of choosing a particular endpoint to another. So basically, the service providers, work, their consensus engine, the work, like in proof of work, for this one, work is measured by how transactions of fees move through the network. So basically, the incentives running an open network infrastructure, consensus keeps everyone honest. Nodes that hoard transactions make less money. Saito makes it to where getting paid by supporting networks and stuff like that. So basically, it's at location. So you have nodes, and these nodes are service providers. The ones that get transactions that interact with the network the most get the most mining reward. Mining reward is interacting with users who do transactions on those nodes. So these nodes want to provide services. They want to provide applications. They want to write libraries, and they want to get people using them, because use is work in this system. users is work in the system. So basically, their image here might even make it more clear. Mining is done by work. The application pays for transaction fees. Okay, you have an application. Me as a user, I go use an application and I pay for transactions. These transactions will be a lot lower than what we see at Uniswap today, but let's say it's Uniswap, right? And I'm paying for fees on Uniswap. So those application fees would go to block producers that support Uniswap in this case, right? And providing that valuable service is income, because that is work in this system, is being that provider of, let's say, Uniswap. And so then that application transaction fees are distributed to security providers, which is those node providers. Those are providing those services. And those sell the tokens to advertisers or network operators, who then provide tokens to users of their applications in order for their applications to run. And they could buy tokens from nodes or miners, or even users of the applications could buy the tokens from them, or buy tokens from the node providers, the security providers, etc. So money flow to nodes for servicing applications. So this project aims to make providing services and getting paid for those services as proof of work. I hope that wasn't too complex, but that's one of the reasons this project took me so much time to get through. All right, so I'm going to start going through my price analysis, and then we'll go, and then I'll end the video there, and then I'll put out the technical video next. So as far as price performance, I do expect this thing to have price performance. But however, it is not a low market cap with an accomplished CEO. They have not made billion-dollar companies in the past, and the market cap is around 100 million fully diluted, but that could change easily. It is relatively low on the market cap. And there, I'll get into that when I get to that section of this video. But they are early with social media, so that's a very good thing. But they're not live right now, so that's another thing that could be seen as a con. Future increase in demand for token. I do expect there to be future increase in demand for the token. This is supposed to be green. Token use for services and or governance. Governance for this one is not figured out yet, but the token is used to pay for use of the network. Staking pays for ISPs instead of stakers, internet service providers, right? So it pays them instead of stakers. Because that proof of work for this project, proof of work is users. Proof of work is people paying and utilizing the network to, being a service provider and getting those users. So like AWS credit for any provider of the network. Basically the token services this network like AWS credits, but it's credits to use the network. It's a way to interact with the network. But ultimately the token is like a fee structure like Ethereum, etc. Value of the target market is very large that they're addressing. Basically, they are an infrastructure aiming project. They want to be the architecture of Web3, and that is a $400 trillion market, if not bigger. They can do micropayments, and you won't need plugins. You will not need private APIs. It'll all be open source. That gets rid of Infura because, service providers will provide automatically by default. They will provide node operations, etc. So, it hits that $400 trillion market, which is going to be quite, aims for that huge, massive market as infrastructure, and that's why you can see I can like this project. So future market excitement likely, I do expect that to be the case. Major upcoming events in 6 months. They got the mainnet launch should be happening within the next 6 months, so that is a big thing that could lead to price performance. They have a game engine coming, but once again, the biggest thing is the mainnet launch in 6 months. Token persistence, things like that. Aiming for, they're trying to distribute the token to create that community. They're in the community building stage. This is an early stage project. I want to pressure that. And so that's, we're in the very beginnings of the stage. Obviously, that's why it's a low market cap, because it's a very early stage. But it doesn't mean the project is new. It's just been working, at building, etc. Okay, so social media is early stage. So the current awareness is relatively low on social media, and we haven't seen huge hype from it from there. So this means you're early in terms of social media. Okay, so some of the things that could be not seen as good. It's too new to consider its price action, at least as far as like token availability, as far as acquiring it. Fully diluted, 100 million market cap, circulating about a 10 million market cap. They may do a token burn in the future, and they mentioned that in one of their videos. So that is something to consider. If that happens, that could make this project more bullish in the future. Token supply distribution is pretty terrible. Only 10% of the tokens are distributed. These things apply. Yeah, so that's like the token distribution's is going to probably bring some sell pressure. So that is something to consider. That's why this thing does have, it went like this, and now it's just kind of floating down. Like this, and it might keep doing that. So dollar cost average, but the reason it's floating down like this is because the token distribution is pretty bad. But that's because it's in the early stages, and it is a lower market cap. So keep that in mind. You might get better prices if you dollar cost average into this thing over time while it's floating down. That's probably the best approach for accumulating this project, because they are trying to release the tokens to all these different actors to build a community. Rewards, teams, foundation, seed round. The foundation is the governance, and they haven't figured that out yet. So that's something to be considered. They are working on governance and how dispute resolution will work for this project. Developers, strategic partners, all of these people getting the tokens to them. The tokens are being distributed. Low inflation rate or token holders. So it's going to have a very high inflation rate as those tokens are released. Tokens on the sell side. So I think these are cautionary things, but because it's early, I do think that ultimately, because these things are cautionary, all these things right here, but because we're new with social media, I do think that it could get some price action in the future as this project aims to create awareness. So as far as niche, it is not live. So there's nothing, no market being serviced right now. Now, governance. This is going to be an in-depth part right here. Governance is not figured out yet. But I think that now what I'm about to diverge into is, I guess I'll say my part. I'll go into it first and then I'll summarize. So there's no governance function right now. It's a pure utility token, but I do think that the foundation will create some kind of governance standard for dispute resolution. Incentives of individual actors align with social welfare of the network overall. Decisions of the overall compatibility decisions would have to be coordinated by some major influence, but since the protocol is really decentralized, upgrades would have to be seen as widely beneficial and worth the effort to coordinate the upgrade through many actors. So in other words, whatever version of the code is released in the wild will have a difficult time passing subgroup beneficiary code upgrades that are incompatible with current operating versions. So in other words, controversial upgrades will never happen. So this is one of my criticisms for where it sits right now, but if they do come up with a dispute resolution, one of the risks of this project is forks, and the reason why is because dispute resolution, like the reason you have governance in blockchains is for dispute resolution. So let's take a look at these nodes. Let's say these are nodes, right? Green is an upgrade that benefits everyone. So what will happen? All these projects will vote for green. All the projects will vote for green. It'll pass easily because it benefits all actors. You can see every single node needs a green update. So they'll easily pass that one. However, yellow will not pass because it will only favor some subsection of the network. And it might be an upgrade that doesn't affect anyone else, but it only affects some subgroup of the network, like some app somewhere. And these guys don't care about the app. Everyone but yellow doesn't care about the app. So why would they care to vote on it? Why would they care about it? Why would they give any effort to it? And so this might not pass because no one would care. That's what one of my criticisms is. They need some kind of process for bringing those issues up to the majority of the nodes so that the nodes will then choose to upgrade niche codes to every project so that it becomes part of the network. The same thing with blue. It's if there's some subset that's less than half, people might ignore it, nodes might ignore it because it doesn't benefit them personally. And also, like, these two codes might conflict with each other, so there needs to be a dispute resolution, a governance for figuring out a medium ground for the network. Okay, so thus, the network will aspire to support broad use cases, which is good, but will fail to support niche use cases that need specific functionalities due to indifferences to upgrades that do not affect greater than 51% of the network. This might cause the network to fork. But once again, they said they want Saito to be the foundation that will have many actors deciding what should be founded. Little progress on how this is structured, so they haven't gotten around to this yet, and so I'm hopeful that they will figure out a mediation process for this project. They want it to be a major world blockchain. So, they understand, like they did mention that the foundation might be the means for governance of this project. But I want you guys to know that this is an early stage for this, and that is one of the associated risks with this project. This right here is not relevant. All right, so that being said, let's go into strategic partnerships. So David Lancashire is one of the founders. Web3 support soon. This project is a web grant recipient. That is very good. They could see themselves playing in the Polkadot ecosystem. That is a good call. IBC, inter-blockchain communication, one of the most important narratives, one of the most important aspects going forward blockchain. And you can see Saito will work with Polkadot, and Polkadot can consult with this project for its utility in blockchain storage and accounting for the blockchain storage data. So Web3 support soon. We love Polkadot because they are open-minded. Ethereum is now closed-minded. And guys, think about this. Ethereum is a closed-minded community, and back in the day, Ethereum used to be an open-minded community. But because this project would kill off Joe Lubin's control of Ethereum, Joe Lubin can shut down Ethereum with the Ethereum is centralized on Infura and Joe Lubin's company, right? And so this project could make Joe Lubin's company go away. That's why Ethereum's not open to supporting this project. And back in the day, Ethereum used to be the open-minded guys. Now that's Polkadot. Polkadot is the open-minded guys. What does that mean? That means Polkadot might be where you want to look for who's going to acquire the market in the future, because they're not. Ethereum is more like, guys, if you make a lot of money and you're up here, and you're now focusing on protecting your wealth rather than innovating, you're done. You're over. And that's kind of what I'm getting here as a message from the Ethereum community, is that they are being protective rather than innovative. And we're looking at Polkadot, who wants to be innovative. But that's a very controversial statement, and I might get a lot of hate for that. And by the way, Ethereum is my second biggest holding, guys. So keep that in mind. I am a big Ethereum bull, but Ethereum is taking some bad actions by not being open-minded to solve some of these problems. Some of the other partners are Mixin, Polkadot, Elrond, and Web3 Parity. So they are hitting home runs with those partnerships. These are all great projects. So that is something to consider. Okay, so external transfer catalyst, basically people leaving your network after they build. I don't think that'll be the case, so it's a non-issue. Basically, when someone builds their business on your ecosystem, they're going to have difficulty moving their business somewhere else, so you will have stickiness of people who build in your ecosystem. Best option of the competition, well, they're a very unique approach, and since, guys, I like unique approaches, that means you will address a unique use cases, and so you are the first arrival with new use cases. That means you will capture some first arrival benefits. So user experience, incentives, drive app developers to create this. So this is going to be a covered thing. It'll be easy to use. First mover adequate. It is a first mover, so that is a powerful thing. Okay, so as far as the team impressive achievements, they have 2 patents, new patents, and that's why I gave them the green on this. The 2 patents are methods and systems for securing blockchain with proof of transactions, and methods and systems for implementing autonomous transaction rebroadcasting for transient blockchains. Basically, transient meaning lasting for defined time sets, okay? All right, and so the Saito team was founded by 2 experienced software engineers, David Lancashire and Richard Paris. They're basically, they have their experience as entrepreneurs. But I will say, for for one of the things I have noticed, this is one of the best designed blockchains, which solves a mostly unaddressed aspect of many projects, which is misaligned incentives. And I actually really like that about this project. So, the team did a good job at implementing a solution for costs that are not associated with other blockchains. And David Lanchire says over here, blockchain is popular in China. Saito was born in the 2017 blockchain debate. Economic problems of blockchain, not technical. He's saying these are economic problems of scaling, not technical problems of scaling. Incentives have to be self-sufficient. Blockchain is not tech. It is an economics incentives problem. And I agree. I think that they are hitting a home run with that you will automatically get. All you have to do is create an associated cost with the blockchain bloat problem, and you can solve that, and that is what they have done. Okay, so now as far as the team, I did put yellow for leadership because there's no billion-dollar startups in the past. And guys, if they don't have that experience, that means there's a less probability that they will hit that. But they do have powerful technical solutions, so that is something to consider. But remember, if they've never done a billion-dollar startup before, that's a process that is very difficult to learn. So the probabilities are less that they will do it. But they're very smart guys, and so let's see if they can do that. I'm willing to take that bet, that they can. But I did say cautionary because they don't have that experience creating a billion-dollar startup like other projects have done. So that leads to some risks there. High value people, though, do control the network because these people, they understand the technical problems of previous blockchains. So long-term vision, they understand right here. He said, in one of my sources, they answer the why question. Blockchain solves core human issues. So they basically get it, that this is a, blockchain, what it is. And in other words, the team is trustworthy. There's some evidence of it. They are understanding of permissionless access of funding. I like how they're starting this project off permissionless. They're not going to a bunch of rich people and saying, why don't you fund us and get tokens for super cheap? No, they're going to community and they're trying to build the community from the ground up. That's powerful. They understand that. That gives them credit as well. They are vetted by Web3. The Web3 Foundation has vetted them, so the team has some evidence that they're trustworthy, and having those technical solutions also proves it as well. We can expect high-value upgrades in the future because of the incentive structure of this blockchain, and we can expect developers to be motivated because, once again, the incentive systems are correct on this, so you get that innate. It's innate or intrinsic to the system, to the blockchain. Large business models that demand token to reflect their needs. So basically, businesses that build on this will be node operators and will maintain the network infrastructure. And I do expect, I expect it to be, regarding how strong this force is, I expect it to be a little bit better than average, that the businesses will demand the token. I think that, it will capture business demand for the token. All right, I think I hit everything. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I went over everything for this project. Good stuff. Okay, so regarding regarding tokens per individual on the lower end, that's a very good sign. There is no burn mechanism yet, but he said he can do a big burn in the future. All right, so I'll get to my last summary. I'm making sure I hit everything because this is a very involved project. Okay, so the pros, very novel approach to blockchain scale. Potential niche capture because of that, potential first mover advantages because they actually solve a lot of the scaling problems associated with blockchains, such as blockchain bloat, and actually creating a picture of blockchain bloat as one of the cost mechanisms. And of course, that makes sense now when you really think about it, to have a blockchain cost associated. So the A+ for incentive structure. Low social media presence is a great thing because that means you're early, and large upside potential. This thing does have some very large upside potential. This project is high risk because you don't know how good they are at creating a billion-dollar startup, a multi-billion-dollar startup. How good are they at business, right? They could be all the technical aspects you want, but they need to also have good business sense, and we'll see. That's one of the risks. So lack of governance definition is one of the risks as well. So dispute resolution, these are the cons. Token distribution is not good. No live niche, and the team has never made a $1 billion startup. But once again, there is large upside potential. So these are the pros and the cons, the way I see it. And this blockchain solves the blockchain trilemma, which I never believed was a thing either. As the founder said, like, I knew that that would be solved eventually. All right, guys, this is part 1. It goes over the price analysis. In part 2, I will go over much more in depth on the how-tos and some of the history of blockchain. I'll go over, like how this stuff works, what is Infura, what is a node. I'll get really into the nitty-gritty of this stuff. I'll go over the math. It'll be much more involved, and some thoughts from that angle. And also for patrons, I will include my patrons only analysis of what I'm doing personally, whether I'm buying or not, and my in-depth numbers associated with my allocations, etc. for my patrons. All right, guys. This is Intrepid Gains, and I hope to bring the highest quality content with the highest probability of getting those sick returns in crypto. And I want to bring the highest quality content in the future. All right, later, guys.